Hey, be good.
Take it easy, y'all.
Let's chop it up.
It's quite intimidating at first just to see the power and the funding and the money that they have behind this thing to really, to recruit people, especially young people.
Once you're 17, being a high school senior, you can enlist into the Army and what's called our delayed entry program,
Okay.
where everything that you choose that you want to do in the Army is guaranteed to you in writing. What job, how long, where your first duty station is, additional money for college, cash bonuses, all that's guaranteed in a contract for your protection.
The military is a violent organization. They're training people to engage in violence, and there is a lot of violence within the military itself. And so people who are considering joining the military need to ask themselves whether they want to train themselves to engage in violence, and what impact that would have on their soul or their personality or their identity.
When one makes a decision coerced, when one makes the decision on the basis of a slick marketing or advertising strategy, when one is sold a bill of goods, I have a problem with that.
When you sign up for the armed forces, there's no free lunch. You're going to have to put in the time.
We definitely present the amount of freedom that you do have being in the Army.
Whether you're looking for advanced training in a high-tech field, a good-paying job, world travel, a chance to earn college credit while you serve your country, the Navy can help you accelerate your life.
Here are opportunities that the military presents. There may be others, but consider this against the others. I think what would be, and that acknowledges the intelligence of the young man or young woman. It acknowledges some degree of empowerment rather than one of this is the only alternative. And where one uses slick marketing devices, I think that there is an inherent dishonesty.
And if you get somebody else who's interested in the Army and they enlist as a referral from you, you can be promoted to E3.
Glorify the military and make large promises and skills and funding availability. And we find out a lot of the people in the military who are married and with children are on food stamps because they don't make enough to support their family. Then we have a situation where we don't have enough money to support the veterans. So how we can make these great claims and then have veterans who are not supported, have active military folks who are on food stamps,
An opportunity to earn college credit while you serve your country. The Navy can help you accelerate your life.
When you get your qualifications to get in the Army, on the entrance exam, if you get above the national average, which is a 50 score of 50, if you get 50 or higher, then you can qualify for the additional money for cash bonus or money for college. And that will be based on your job as well.
Said for the entry test, if you score above a 50%, you are automatically guaranteed $50,000 for college.
I'm not in debt like most of my friends that went to college.
I think you should know is that the colleges themselves have much more financial aid available than they did 10 years ago. So you can get financial aid from the college, you can get it from the government in the forms of a Pell Grant.
My experience was at the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, between the years of June of 1965 and September of 1968. And the military academies, that's the Naval Academy, the Air Force Academy, and West Point, they create officers for the officer corps of those branches of the service. In the GI Bill, you realize once you get in, the small print of what you really have to do to qualify for certain GI Bill money, etc., and how little it is compared to what it sounded like when you were recruited.
Promised versus the reality. I only know the statistics, or some of the statistics that are mentioned, and that if only 50% of the people are offered the amount of money to go to school that more or less was presumably promised, and of those, a fraction are the ones who ever actually use it, then the whole pitch of assisting people to go to school isn't true.
So why are you going to college? They can't answer me. It's like, because everybody gotta go to college. I'm like, you can still do other things and go to college as well.
80% of college students don't know what they want to major in, for at least for the first 2 years, and even those that say they do change their mind. Money, you certainly can apply for financial aid through the FAFSA, the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, which really favors lower income people instead of middle class income people. There's a lot of federal aid in the colleges like that, because as you get federal aid, you don't have to get college aid.
My experience at Cal State Channel Islands was that, in that many of the students are either people of color or are from disadvantaged economic groups who are also reservists. And the reservists, presumably to help them get funding for school. But those same reservists were taken out of school and sent to Iraq to fight the war.
You may be trading your life for an education.
While benefit can accrue to these young men, how it is presented is very critical. It's very critical. And what should be pointed out, that you are in the military, and there may be occasions when the country goes to war.
Is it probably likely he's probably going to see it anytime in his military career? Probably not. Because if you look back to the history books, major wars where they call up everybody, they come, about every 30 years or so.
Things can go wrong in the military. I mean, basic training, not only, it's dangerous, it's physical, it's live, and it's real, so.
Not to mention issues of psychiatric problems and other matters. We now have statistics for the Vietnam War that more men and women have come home and committed suicide after the war than were killed in active duty. My own son was in the Army, so I have the personal experience of seeing what it did to him, and he was given an honorable discharge, but they hospitalized him in Seoul, Korea because of his inability to take the treatment they were giving him.
The Naval Academy was an isolated place, as all the service academies are, from normal discourse. You become such a follower of rules, you become so afraid of the rules at Annapolis and the other academies that we don't really, they don't build leaders at all. Really, what you build is people that will take orders from the next level up, and in the military, there's always a next level up, so you're always brown-nosing to get a fitness report written by the next level up, and it goes up to Commander-in-Chief. And
sometimes you get to choose in your contract where you would like to be stationed. We'll place you in a job that you will excel in for one of our positions.
Okay.
So we have 212 different jobs that you could select from.
Wow, okay.
Plumbing, electricians, to satellite communications.
With the satellite communications and the RF knowledge that I had when I left, my Navy experience allowed me to step right into a respectable and fun job.
I'm not so sure how transferable those skills that they teach you in the military are to civilian life.
You mentioned stating if you are trained as a mechanic in the military, you transfer out of the military and you have a mechanic's degree, you can take that and that registers just as if you had been a mechanic at City College or somewhere else. So that sounded very convincing, but I think if you're trying to transfer into a job non-militaristic, it might be looked you might be looked over as if someone who had been trained outside the military.
There are two questions that are important. Are these skills portable? That is, can they be applied in a non-military context, in a civilian context? And number two, are these skills such that will be able to sustain an individual, or will they be skills for which a minimum wage would be the only kind of income earned?
Also trained him to drive vehicles, but the vehicles they trained him in aren't ones you use on the U.S. highways, and so he had to go back for training to drive, which he would have done anyway. So whatever training that they gave him in the military had no relationship to what happens in the civilian life.
Same thing working in finance, dealing with money. They go to school and the only thing that they're taught is how to make sure that they count the bills right, or Uncle Sam gets upset.
You can't have the same pride for your job in the civilian world that you can in the military.
They will not be flying aircraft.
Right.
You know, and perhaps not even repairing aircraft. They may be doing more menial types of tasks, and that is certainly not presented in the marketing strategies.
I'm in charge of a $32 million piece of equipment. I'm only 20 years old, and to me, that's a pretty big responsibility.
And then you can also get the college fund, you can get a cash enlistment bonus, and you can get to pick your duty station and your job, all guaranteed in writing.
You know, I wonder if those kinds of figures quoted are ones that would be applicable to the groups targeted.
Yes, there is a draft then. There's an economic draft, and it's, I think, insidious. It is victimizing people who are at risk, and making promises that can't be delivered upon, or won't be delivered on, or they assume people will not take advantage of them. We have to be concerned about recruitment, and we do know that there's a focus on people of color and those in at-risk economic status that are a focus and who may see military involvement as a real way out of a depressed, violent, difficult situation. And I think that they are victimized by this. And essentially, a lot of people of color and a lot of people from economic groups that are at risk fighting battles and imperialism inflicted on the rest of the world.
I find it, problematic where certain groups are targeted, where minorities are targeted, where students coming from depressed rural areas, where it is presented as the only way out of the hood, the only way out of the countryside, and presented in such a way that it becomes the only alternative.
Do you know anyone in the service already?
No, most of my friends are white, so they don't join.
As a woman in the Navy, I'm treated equally.
According to the Pentagon, 78% of active duty military women report experiencing sexual harassment.
Now, here's the pitch for other alternatives that can be much more positive, uplifting, and constructive. Instead of deconstructing personalities and rebuilding them to make the military machine, and in the process inflicting various psychiatric and other abuses that people do pay for at some point. Many people do. Actively serving claimed conscious objection because of their realization that the machine they were